the military life is unstable in that you're moving all the time, we're so much more stable than we were because we know that he's going to have a paycheck all the time. And we really love the lifestyle.
Welcome to the Military Bottom Line podcast, where we learn from veterans and those currently serving how to make the most out of a military contract. We're here to motivate, inspire, and help you leverage your service to positively impact you professionally, personally, and financially during your military career and beyond. Hey guys, welcome to episode 39 of the Military Bottom Line podcast. A little bit of a bonus episode today, as it's kind of not really the normal route I go, but I thought that Abby's perspective was pretty cool from a spouse standpoint, and I just definitely want to provide value to any potential spouses, girlfriends, fiancés, husbands, whatever it might be, that could kind of gain from her perspective, having been in the military for 7 years as a spouse, gone through deployment, and taking care of 3 kids all while doing it. So I think you guys will enjoy the episode. Abby does some professional yoga stuff, and she's working on building a community for spouses as they go through this journey together. So if you guys are interested in yoga, interested in a spousal perspective, definitely give it a listen. Hope you enjoy. Hey Abby, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah, I'm always excited when people reach out to me because it makes my life easier, and it's always fun to reach out with people that are kind of not necessarily the norm. This is a new perspective that I'm looking forward to kind of learning about from a military spouse perspective, and I think it's definitely one that a lot of people can relate to or learn from. So I'm looking forward to hearing your story.
Good, great.
So how long? Yeah. What is your story a little bit? How long you've been affiliated with the military?
Yeah, we do have a bit of a story. My husband's a social worker, and he was civilian after his master's for 10 years. And we'd gone through a cycle of lots of job insecurity. Social workers get government funded jobs, and then the funding goes away, and so does the job. So we moved a lot, and we watched businesses go under, and my husband just went down with the ship. And so he kept trying to apply to the military. We're in the Air Force. For one, starting to try to get loans paid off from school, but we got those paid off another way because it took us so long to get in. For a while, they weren't accepting, they were just doing government contracted social work. And then they kind of changed their program, and he was able to get in, and it was a life changer for us. So we entered a little bit later than a lot of people do. We were 35 before we joined. So we've got a ways to go until the 20 years.
Yeah.
But we love it. As much as the military life is unstable in that you're moving all the time, we're so much more stable than we were because we know that he's going to have a paycheck all the time. And we really love the lifestyle. Social workers are stuck, not stuck. They're connected to a state by license. And we like to travel and see things in the world and get different perspectives. And we couldn't do that just only living in one place all the time. Yeah. We think it's really valuable for our children, and we really enjoy it.
Cool.
So
that is so, I've never, interacted with somebody that's kind of joined that late, kind of realizing maybe that the career path that they were going into wasn't going to be quite what they expected. And so trying to find kind of an offshoot opportunity, the Air Force sounds great for sure.
Yeah. It's been great for us. And I enjoy being part of a broader community. It's exciting to me to think about having friends all over the place, and having just a connection to something bigger than just our little family. We really enjoy the lifestyle a lot.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how long ago did he first join?
So it was 2013 when he joined. So we've been about 7 years. I think February is 7 years.
Okay,
so
cool.
We're getting there. I don't know.
Awesome. Where all has it taken you guys to this point?
We've just had 3 bases. We were at Nellis first in Las Vegas,
Mhm.
and then we were overseas in Misawa, Japan. We loved it.
Cool.
And then we are now at Vance Air Force Base in Enid, Oklahoma.
Oh, okay.
So
Awesome.
they were all really different bases,
Mhm.
which has been great for my husband's career because he's been able to do different kinds of things. The focus of the base, each base has been very different.
Yeah.
So that's given him some good, experience. And you're always trying to grow that. What do you call it? What's the thing like the resume? What do they call it?
Yeah, it's different in every branch. So
yeah, yeah, I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's been good.
And did you say 2 kids?
We have 3 kids.
3 kids.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I'm curious, like, I mean, 7 years, 3 kids, moving a lot in 7 years. What is that like from, the mother's perspective, the kid's perspective? And like, how do you feel like, I mean, it sounds like you enjoy it, but what
We
what
do.
is that like?
Well, the first move was the hardest. Moving from our home into the military world was the hardest because we didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
And I did it by myself. My husband was at COT, the officer training. And so I sold the house by myself with the 3 kids, and we didn't have any money coming in. They weren't paying him yet.
Wow.
I don't know why. It takes a while. I
Administrative
guess.
error.
So that,
Yeah.
I don't know. So that was the hardest. But then it's almost like a fresh start every time you move. It's hard to leave things and people behind that you love, but when you're in it for a while, you start seeing people again.
Yeah.
Like it recycles, and that's really cool. And for my oldest daughter, she's a freshman now in high school.
Cool.
When we moved from Misawa, Japan, she kind of felt like she could reset her personality a little bit, and it was just a new, fresh start. And so I think my kids get excited about it, and we really like to get involved in the new area. We like to see things. I mean, we're just in the middle of the US, Oklahoma, but it's new to us.
Yeah.
There's stuff to explore and discover, and that's really fun. I enjoy that.
Yeah.
So
I think that's definitely one of, like, I mean, no matter your affiliation with the military, it's going to take you places that you would not ordinarily pick to go on your own.
Exactly.
And you're kind of forced to find the good in those places, in those opportunities. So I think it definitely gives, people an appreciation for the things that they didn't give attention to before. But
yes. And it's fun even in just media. We'll be watching a movie or something and they'll mention Las Vegas, and my kids will go, "Oh, we lived there," and it's just kind of fun.
Yeah. So I'm curious. I mean, I know you guys pursued it based on, career development and stuff, but with a limited understanding of the military life, did you have reservations about, taking that step and joining?
Yes. We had done some work with a Navy recruiter before. He'd come into our home and talk to us. That was back when we were trying to get our loans paid off.
Gotcha.
And so we did kind of talk about some of the realities of what it means to be in the military. And with social work, the pay is not that different. Like some fields, well, my husband's part of medical. So a lot of medical people, they get in and they get out because they can get paid more on the outside. But that's not necessarily true with social work. So there were some reservations for sure. And you can't go into it closed-minded. I think it helped that we had similar goals. Like it wasn't just his plan. I was on board.
Yeah.
And I think that helped a lot.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Awesome. I know that you have, you've kind of developed your own career within yoga instructing, correct? And
yes.
What has that been like, trying to kind of balance your own career and pursuits when you're moving around a bunch, but your husband moves because of his job, but then you're doing your thing. So how do you balance that?
Yeah, it is tricky. I got into yoga as his job was going under and as he was applying for the military. And both of us felt like, well, if he gets into the military, yoga is something I can do anywhere. And it's true. I have worked in a lot of like military gyms. Each time I've worked in the military gym. So that's a stable like place
Cool.
that I can go to. And I like working with the military community, with yoga. And, there's always you got to go find a job, and that takes a minute, but there has seemed to be a pretty good demand. So I've been lucky that way.
Are those base jobs? I mean, I want to say guaranteed, but like, are they readily available for spouses that are looking to get involved?
Well, it's kind of like they're usually contracts also.
Okay.
So if there's a space in the contract and the funding's there, then you probably can. I have just been probably lucky that I've showed up and there hasn't been a yoga teacher, or the yoga teacher just moved.
Gotcha.
And so I've been able to slide in. So that's been lucky. But I do think, I guess if there were 3 or 4 yoga teachers already there, then I probably wouldn't have had an option.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have to wait for someone to move to PCS.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. I mean, I guess that makes sense. It's constantly a rotating workforce. And so sometimes, you fall in line at the right time. Other times, you're not so lucky. So I get that.
I'm just really proactive. I mean, you know where you're going a couple months before.
Yeah.
So you can get online and start making contacts and start, I had 2 yoga jobs lined up before we got here. So just because, you just network.
Yeah. Just talk, just meet people, reach out like you did here.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, so what does that look like now? I mean, are you're an Enid, you said Enid, right?
Yes.
Have you been able to find a similar position there, or are your pursuits of going online kind of like becoming the focus?
Yes, I do. I do work here in town. I teach some private lessons, which I enjoy at a private gym. And then I teach on base, Advanced Air Force Base. And I teach at a YMCA. And that's fulfilling for sure. But I also just felt a real need to connect with people that I've left behind and to create my own space. I've always wanted a brick and mortar of my own, but that's 15 years down the line if we stay in this world. And so I decided to create my online studio. Cool. And that way I can reconnect with people that I've left behind, and it's always open. There's no time zone issue. And, usually most of what I do is pre-recorded. I do offer some live things, but
cool.
And then I can have my own creative space online.
So do you like, I want to say target, military men and women and family for yoga, but like, is there a specific benefit? I mean, like I do yoga, I do like quote unquote like YouTube yoga, like when I'm feeling like I need to kind of do more stretching, like that's kind of my go-to. And I know everybody pursues yoga for different reasons. And so I'm curious, like, I know, there's like science behind it all and stuff, but are there particular benefits for, specifically military men and women and spouses that they can kind of like and maybe should be looking into this option for mental and physical health?
Yes, absolutely. That's a great question. When we were in Misawa, Japan, it's a very isolated base. It's northern Japan. You don't speak the language. Not very many people there speak English. And it's cold and it's dark and it's far, far away from home. And the emotional benefits of yoga were immense. I mean, you could just tell that people were coming to have a connection with other people, and then to breathe and to feel their bodies move. And there is all sorts of science behind the breath and to connect internally. It was huge there. I mean, I had classes of 40 people every day. And so it's a huge need. And most of them were spouses.
Okay.
But I would also do squadron PT, and that was fun.
That's so
make
funny.
them suffer a little bit. That was fun.
That is funny.
But yeah, absolutely. I think, I mean, any physical movement, it's happy endorphins, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, yoga is my thing for sure, but I definitely believe strongly that you need to find some physical outlet, and we're constantly moving, and we don't have control of our space, and we have to carve out a little spot for us for our well-being.
Yeah. So, I mean, where, like, I mean, what's like, what should be people's, what are they looking for when they do it? I mean, I don't know anything about yoga. So like, I guess kind of,
Yeah.
I don't want to say sell it to me, but like, tell
Yeah.
me things about yoga that most people don't know, because I don't know anything about it. I don't know the
Sure.
benefits, other than sometimes it makes me feel good to stretch more.
Yeah, sure. Well, definitely there's that. Yoga can be adapted to any body type or even injury. I tore my Achilles tendon. I did yoga in a boot.
Ouch.
Um, it can be, yeah, it was no fun. It can be changed for anything. It's really adaptable to life,
Mm,
and it doesn't have to be like a whole hour long session. You can do 20 minutes of yoga every day and have that calming benefit to your mind and your body. It warms up our muscles. So especially I do vinyasa. So warms up the muscles and works on some of that lactic acid that we get built up that causes stress and pain.
mhm.
And so you stretch all of that out, you breathe through it. I see a lot of pilots here at Vance, and they're all like squished inside a little plane. And so
Yeah.
like we work on opening up the chest and rolling back and stretching. Hamstrings are always really tight in the
Yeah.
hamstrings. And there's total physical benefits for
Mm,
sure. Just the mobility. We want to be able to move any way we want. And yoga helps us to do that for
yeah.
sure. And then there's the breathing component that's essential.
So I know I've
So yeah.
done like, like, I don't know what it's called, but there's the kind of more relaxing meditative version of yoga, and then
Hmm.
there's like the workout version of yoga. And
Yes. Yes.
what like wh- when do I do which? You know?
Well, I kind of think it's a personality in some ways.
Okay.
Yoga totally has a spectrum. And if I had started yoga on that meditative, I probably would have quit
Mm,
because I'm a dancer. I wanted to move.
yeah.
So for me, that vinyasa flowing style works really well.
Yeah.
But I also do ballet, and ballet is controlled. And so there's a combination between that moving and the control that really struck me. It really worked for
Mm,
me. Um, so I feel like you can find a type of yoga that's going to suit you if you just do a little maybe research or whatever.
yeah.
But I also think that there's benefits in all the different styles. You just have to kind of be open minded, I guess, to try something new.
Sure. Sure. Do you find that your clientele, within, when working on base, is it more the individual that's, on active duty, or is it more the spouse's independence?
I have a lot of active duty here at Vance, and I don't know if it's just the time slot that I'm in.
Mm,
In Misawa, it was more spouses, but in Vance, it's more active duty. I get a lot of the pilot trainees, and they come in all stressed out,
yeah.
and they want to slow down and they want to stretch, and it's hard for them,
Mm,
but they recognize that it feels good. And I'm grateful that they're taking that time for them. The pilot training I hear is really stressful. I mean, my husband's not a pilot, so I don't
yeah.
know, but um, it does a number on him.
Yeah.
So to have that both physical and emotional release is great. And they come when they can, when they're not flying.
Mm,
It's awesome.
mm, mm.
Yeah.
So I know that you're trying to kind of build a community for spouses, when, their counterpart is deployed, and kind of be able to help
Yes.
them with that. And so has your husband deployed? Have you gone through that together?
Y- Yeah, we just got finished with our very first
Oh, okay.
deployment. He was gone for almost 6 months,
Okay.
right in the middle of COVID. So
Mm,
that was an interesting little kink in it all. And we'd never done that before.
yeah.
So I had to learn a few things about
Yeah.
how to survive during it. One thing that became really apparent right at the beginning was that he was going to have all these experiences that I would have no clue about.
Mm,
He maybe couldn't tell me about them, or I wouldn't even understand it because it's not my world.
yeah.
And I needed something that was going to show more than just I'm driving kids around all day long or
Mm,
I'm helping with homework all day long. Not that that's not important.
sure.
I value being a mother, but I needed a project for myself
Yeah.
too. So I developed yoga for deployment, and it's specifically designed to help spouses or spouses go through these different cycles that we go through during deployment. There's you start out and you're anticipating the departure, and you're feeling sadness and denial and frustration, and then they start to get close to leaving, and you kind of detach from each other. And then there's the emotional disorganization that happens once they leave. You're all in a mess, overwhelmed and everything. And you hit this kind of sweet spot in the middle where you've found your routine and you're in a flow. And that's a really powerful time for the spouse to recognize their own strength. It's a good time. And then the husband or wife, I shouldn't just say husband, my husband, they start anticipate them coming home. And there's some anxiety, but excitement around that. And then they come home and you think it's all good, but there's some issues. Like all of a sudden I have to let my husband back into my room again. And that was my sacred space for 6 months, you know, and there's finances to discuss, because I did a lot of DoorDash while he was gone. And it's just, and it's not easy. And so this program that I've developed specifically targets all these emotions that you go throughout a cycle of deployment, with yoga and meditation and little helps and tips along the way. So
have you found that those cycles are not just specific to you, but that's like a specific trend that all spouses and dependents experience?
Well, I think so. I think it can also happen around a time of PCS. There's a lot of those same kind of emotions that happen around a PCS, because you're just uprooted. Yeah. Everything changes, right? Yeah. I mean, you have to always, you say goodbye to everybody. You detach from people because you go, well, I don't need to get to know you because I'm moving, Yeah. So you detach, and then you got to start a new routine. I mean, I think it's really indicative of just this military life that we live.
So you're hoping to basically build a community of men and women dependents that are going through these experiences of deployment and being, home alone, or going through these PCSs, which is basically moving in the military from base to base. So your hope is to basically build a community where, there's a constant where those individuals can always find, the people that they know and that are going through similar things, and that couple it with yoga.
Yeah. And for me, that physical outlet is so very important. And to have that as something that you can always go to, and being online and with the programs, the lessons I've developed, they're like 20 minutes. So, we're busy people. We can just get on and do a little 20 minutes. And so you kind of get rid of that guilt. Oh, I didn't exercise today. 20 minutes done, off to go unpack 10 more boxes or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully really practical. And then sure, a support system. I mean, when you're part of a community like this, you all kind of understand what you're going through. So let's help each other out.
Cool. Yeah. I like that. I mean, I know that, in my experience, you can always pretty much witness the spouse is kind of creating a community there, and it's all different depending on where you're stationed, because like Vegas, there's obviously a ton of people that aren't affiliated with the military, but Vance, from what I understand, there's not much else around, if I understand
it's pretty
that
small. Yeah.
so yeah, it kind of forces people to kind of band together where they are.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. So, I mean, I'm curious, like through your experience, in the past 7 years, what have been like the highlights and the valleys? I can't think of the opposite version of highlight.
Yeah, sure. Probably Japan for me personally. If you have a chance to go overseas, I would say embrace it. We just, it was an adventure every time we left the base. Yeah. I mean, the food was good and there was so much to see that I would have never thought. It kind of just opened my eyes to possibilities of this broader world that I didn't even know about. And I carried some of that with me to Oklahoma, because now we're just enjoying traveling all around the state and seeing different things. So the ability to travel to places, I kind of already mentioned that before, is great for us. And probably some of the lows, geez, I really like living in this lifestyle. So I don't know. Maybe I'm
That's a
just
good
a really
answer.
happy person. No, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to move. It's
Yeah.
hard to leave people
Yeah.
behind. It's hard to disrupt those connections that are valuable. I think sometimes probably the hardest thing for me actually is that none of my family is in the military world, so they don't really understand.
Mm.
I can tell them, but they don't really get it. And they always expect us to come see them. And I don't always want to just, I don't, that sounds horrible.
Yeah.
I love my family, but it's hard to be always the one that's gone.
For sure.
I think.
For sure. Yeah.
So,
and like
so
when you
that's
have those
hard.
opportunities to go on a vacation, it's like, I don't always want to go home, you know?
No,
So
no, because it's expensive to fly five
Yeah.
of us to Utah, where we're from.
Yeah.
So
seriously.
yeah, yeah.
What kind of, advice can you give to, whether it be somebody who's getting married to somebody who's already in the military, or you're, transitioning into the military together, like through your 7 years of experience, what kind of advice can you give to a spouse that is, about to embark on, this?
About to embark on that? That's a good question. I think a lot of open communication about where you want the future to go. I think it's helpful to have both spouses on the same page. If one has a goal that doesn't really suit the other, then it doesn't really work. I mean, my husband feels like I really support him because I'm willing to move for his job. And so he equally supports me. I mean, it's definitely funded my whole yoga thing because he makes way more money than I do, but because I make just a little, but I love it. So he's definitely supported any trainings that I've needed. And this whole venture of getting online, he's supported it 100%. So I think when we have these, we have a shared end goal, and then we allow each other growth within that journey.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, really important.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Well, yeah, I mean, I was not married when I was active duty. And so now I'm married in the Guard. And so it's, something that, we haven't had to deal with the deployment yet. But I know she's, the time will come, and she'll be a champion no matter what. But so I can't speak from experience on that, but now that I'm married, that would definitely be difficult. So, I think any opportunity for community for, my wife or somebody else's spouse would be definitely beneficial. So,
yeah, it's really important. I feel like a lot of times on base, well, depending on where you are, but sometimes the goal of the base is just support the active duty person. That's definitely how Nellis was.
Yeah.
I think that was probably my personal hardest base, maybe just because it was also new to me. But I feel like if you support the spouse, the dependent spouse, the active duty person is going to be way more functional in their job.
Sure.
If things are happy at home, then they're going to do better. So I really believe that needs to be a portion of what happens in the military life.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense that would also kind of change a little bit. Like the culture of it would change a little bit based on where you're stationed.
It does.
Each base has different, like a mission priority, and the culture drastically changes from base to base. So
yeah, absolutely. Sense. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, where can people find more about you to, take part in your deployment yoga program and kind of become involved in this community that you're working to create?
Yes. I have a freebie out there that I'd love for people to snag.
Cool.
It's top 10 tips for surviving deployment. And the link for that freebie, you just put your email in, and then you get the email, the freebie to your email. It is yogatraveler.net/deployment yoga. So hopefully not too hard to remember.
I'll put it in the description if anybody has any.
Okay, sure. That's great.
Trouble.
That's great. Yeah. And you can get that freebie, the top 10 tips for surviving deployment. And then you'll get information about how to join the program itself. But I also have Facebook, Yoga Traveler Facebook, Instagram, Yoga Traveler Abby. I've got a podcast on Anchor, Yoga Traveler, YouTube channel, Yoga Traveler. It's all the same.
You're pretty much everywhere. I'll make
Yeah.
sure there's a link to if you find one, you find them all, kind of thing, I imagine. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Just get hooked in.
Cool. Well, thank you, Abby. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you sharing your story
Yeah.
and perspective, and hopefully,
Yeah.
you know,
Thanks so much.
hopefully somebody benefits from hearing this and learning that your community exists.
Yeah, I hope so too. I'd love to support people.
Awesome. Thanks so
Yeah.
much, Abby.
All right. Thank you.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode with Abby. The link that she talked about is below, yogatraveler.net/deployment yoga. I'll put that in the description. If there are any spouses that, or active members that are on deployment and want to take advantage of her program, her deployment program, just use the code YOUTIME, YOU time, TIME, for $5 off a month. Cool. See you guys next time.